Hey, what is going on, everybody? This is Israel, also known as Izzycentric on social media, and holy crap, I have had to redo this like 8 times now. Probably an exaggeration, but it's been taking a while. Apologies for the late video. I've been having to learn how my camera works because up until this point, I have been using a smartphone between white balancing and just all the things that come with cameras. Yeah, anyway, today we're going to be doing a pretty quick one. We'll see how quick this is going to be. It's a paranormal story time. I've been gaining a lot of subscribers, and there's a lot of you who don't know exactly where I started. My very first investigation I ever did, you can actually find on YouTube, and that's what we're here to talk about today. My first investigation was with a haunted doll. It was actually my wife, Sam. It was her doll that she had as a kid. It was given to her by her great-grandmother, and she used to tell me horror stories about it. This thing harassed her. It tried eating her clothing at one point, and it used to sit on the top shelf, and just a little schoolgirl doll. It has her own little metal desk, and when I first saw her, I ended up naming her Blondie. She didn't have a real name. I decided, you know what, this is a good start. So I knew a guy by the name of, we're gonna call him Frank. He did paranormal events. I figured he was a good guy to go to with a haunted object. Now, mind you, I just started studying demonology. I just bought my ghost hunting equipment. I mean, I was ready to really get into this. The plan was for me to take Blondie to Frank, and then Frank was going to then take her wherever else. I'm not sure what Frank's plan was, and in hindsight, I really should have rethought this entire thing. The thing about haunted objects is when you start moving them from point A to point B, the spirit that's attached to that object tends to go with it. And then you start creating a lot of problems for other people. My glasses are dirty. And unfortunately, my camera is really good, which means that it's probably seeing that. I didn't take into consideration what this doll could do to other people that were around me. I lived with my mom and dad at the time, so when I brought Blondie home with me, I started running my equipment on her, I put an EMF meter in front of her, and we went to see what was going to happen, to see if there was any energy on the doll. And then this happened. Can you give me a yes or no? Is this you here? What the hell? You could say I was a little surprised. A couple of days in keeping the doll home with us, my son started having nightmares, which also happened to Sam when she was a kid. So this doll definitely liked attacking children. I find out later that this doll doesn't just attack kids, it has its way with adults as well. Blondie was actually affecting me. It felt as though Blondie was pulling me in, like I wanted to pick the doll up. I had this attachment to this doll. I was fully aware of this, and so I was just keeping mental notes on what Blondie was doing to my mind. And I knew it was good for me to get rid of the doll sooner than later, obviously. I didn't want to start developing, I didn't know what kind of bond I would start actually feeling spiritually or emotionally to this doll. So I knew I had to get rid of her very soon. So when my son started having nightmares, Sam demanded the doll to be moved. And so I ended up keeping her in the trunk of the car until the event. The event was in Camden, South Carolina. And so that's about 2 hours from where I live. I kept Blondie in the trunk, took her with me, and I decided I was going to showcase this doll with my ghost hunting equipment at my table. Wasn't my brightest decision, as I found out soon after that. One of the people that was there was a practicing druid, and she refused to approach me. Eventually I approached her, and because I thought she was like mad at me or something, I didn't know what was going on. I started introducing myself, and she said, hey, I'm sorry, I have nothing against you or anything. I hope you're not offended. I cannot be around that doll. That doll has something on it. There's something really dark on it, and I felt very dizzy and felt like I was going to fall over. So that's why I'm over here. She ended up giving me some advice. She actually suggested I bury the doll. That was a good plan B. I didn't want to burn the doll. Mind you, I was studying from Ed and Lorraine Warren at the time. They were a pretty big inspiration of mine. I didn't want to burn it because I thought, well, if the spirit wanted to stay attached to the doll, then perhaps burning it wouldn't be the best idea. If the spirit leaves the doll, then where does the spirit go next? I decided to stick to plan A. So the next day, Sam was filling in for me. I had work the following day, and so she came in for me, and when she arrived, she saw a salt circle around Blondie. Somebody had laid salt in a circle around the doll that was just sitting in the desk. The reason why we kept the doll and the equipment overnight was because they had locked it up, and so we were I felt pretty safe just keeping the equipment behind. Not sure if the druid did this. No one left a note. So I don't know who did it. It probably was the druid, but I did find it interesting that she felt the need to do that. So Sam cleans up the salt circle and she's sitting at the table, and a man approaches her about an hour or so later, trying to buy the doll from her. And she says, no, this is a haunted object. You can't have this. And he says, well, it looks really cute. It's for my daughter. And Sam's like pointing at the ghost hunting equipment sitting at the table, like, do you know what this table is? Do you know why we're here? Do you know what this is? This doll is not for sale. So, I mean, this dude was trying to offer as much as like $100 for the freaking thing. So eventually she gets him to go away. At the end of the event, Sam starts packing up and she goes up to Frank and says, hey, here's the doll. I'm gonna go home. And he says, okay, I'll take it from here. He keeps Blondie in his car for a week. And here's what the doll starts doing to him. During the week that Frank had the doll in his car, and yes, he spent a whole week with the doll in his car, the car that he drove regularly. On the way home, he already starts feeling sinusy. He feels like he's getting a little bit sick. He's thinking he's coming down with something. He's not 100% sure. But then he started getting like really sick. It started doing things to his gums and his teeth. By the end of the week, he had to have an emergency dentist appointment to pull 3 teeth because, and this is what he told me, he said it was so bad, it was as if he did a particular thing with a particular person if that person was very dirty. That's probably the best way I can put that, as censored as I can, since this is a Christian channel, so trying to keep it censored. These were his words. He said, I have never had an infection like this in my life. I've never had this problem before. He still wasn't thinking about the doll. It wasn't until at the very end of the week, he remembers the doll. He proceeds to panic at this point, realizing what's going on, and then he just stops. I think it was at like a Walgreens or something. He just stops at the nearest parking lot at his store, opens his door, drops the doll off in the parking lot, and then goes home. To this day, I do not know where Blondie is. So yeah, that's my paranormal story. It's one of my first paranormal experiences I ever had. I've had others, but this was the first time I actually ran equipment on something. A couple of lessons to be learned. If it's causing that much harm, it's demonic. Don't mess with that kind of stuff. Definitely have a game plan for this. Don't keep it in your house. There are 2 types of demonic energy. I gave you some examples, but basically it can be summed up into 2 categories. One is to feel repulsed, and the other one is to feel pulled in. But anyway, so I hope you guys enjoyed my paranormal story time. I gotta get going. I gotta get to sleep soon, but I will see you all in the next video. You all take care.